We are going to discuss violence committed by security forces. Kashmir is a highly militarized zone. So many troops and paramilitary forces are stationed in Kashmir. There are different estimates of how many forces are there. Usually it is taken as a 5 lakh plus. Voice of America News says at least 5 lakhs, and for decades. This in its November 2021 issue. And Guardian says in 2016 issue 7 lakhs. Gene Dredge, writing in Indian Express in 2016, says 6 lakhs are there, 6 lakhs or above are there for a population of 6 million, 60 lakhs. So it comes out to be 1 soldier for 10 civilians. Okay. But this website, the print, in November 2019 article gives a more detailed account. It says that only 3.43 lakhs are there, contrary to many who quote 9 lakhs, including Imran Khan. And it says that this 2.43 is divided into 2.31 in hinterlands and 1.12 along with LOC. 2.31 plus 1.12. And out of 3.43 lakhs, 1.68 lakhs are from army. The rest are from CRPF, ITBF, and BSF. So one is not talking only about army. It's about other paramilitary forces. So you can see varying from 3.5 lakhs to 6 lakhs and 7 lakhs. At 6 lakhs, it is 1:10. If it is at 4 lakhs, it will be more. So, on the whole, this is a highly militarized. Okay. So in cities, you see in streets much of army presence. And many violations that are reported, among the many violations they are reported, one case seemed very, very serious. That is a case of mass graves. See, this is a graveyard. there is no, it's not marked, so it's called unmarked. There are graves 1, 2, 3, 4 like this, and now we know that how these things came up is that people are taken from homes and often tortured, and when they die or when they are killed, they are buried. This is one case. Or sometimes encounters. Fake encounters are very common. And buried is another. Or real encounter and buried. So this is how many people were buried. Government first claimed that there were only foreign militants who were buried, but the investigations by one human rights group found out that there were many locals in these mass graves. And this was reported to State Human Rights Commission, and State Human Rights Commission itself took up the issue. Okay. State Human Rights Commission inquiry in 2011 confirmed thousands of bullet-ridden bodies buried in unmarked graves. Thousands. And in its investigations, it found of the 2,370 bodies uncovered in 4 of the districts, 574 were identified as missing locals. So 574 were identified as missing locals, and the remaining 2370 minus 574 were not identified. Okay. And this was in 4 districts. And Pervez Emraj was a human rights lawyer, and his field workers estimate the total such graves was more than 6,000. More than 6,000. And they say that there were cases of around 8,000 disappearances. And when these bodies were taken out, some corpses were disfigured, others were burned. So disfiguring could be due to torture. And it is said that army people get financial rewards to soldiers, to who kill militants. But of course, the one doesn't have a title militant. So whoever is called a militant can become a militant. There are also cases where there are confessions confessions, like the terrorist confesses in Kashmir Files, confession by security personnel that he killed for financial rewards. Confessions are there. And this is given in detail in Guardian newspaper. According to APDP, Association of Parents of Disappeared Persons, there are around 6,700 unmarked graves in just 5 districts. 1, 2, Kupwara, Baramulla, and Bandipora from Valley, and Poonch and Rajouri from Jammu. So more may be found in other districts too. So what SHRC found about 2,730 graves, 574 identified and 2156 unidentified, came from 38 graveyards. So, what conclusions can be drawn from this? That locals being taken, killed, buried, but not only locals, but others also. So this leads to many disappearances. And many women do not know whether their husbands died or still alive. So they don't know whether they are widows or not. So a new term came in Jammu and Kashmir, half widows. Okay, they need a new term because thousands of people disappeared. Okay. The districts that were referred to are these two, from Valley, and Poonch and Rajouri from Jammu. So they are here. For these 3 from Kashmir, these 2 from Jammu. Okay. So SHRC did only a partial job. Many more graves are there, and there is a demand for justice. Okay. So this is one case. Next. There are instances of massacres of civilians by the security forces. For example, okay, there are many such massacres. For example, on 21/190, 51 killed, civilians killed by CRPF when they are protesting against wanton arrest and molestation of women by them. Security forces enter homes and recklessly arrest people and molest women. This is a common complaint. And when people were protesting, they were fired at and 51 people killed. Similarly, in Handwara, 25 by BSF, Jakura Crossing, 33, Hawal, 60, Sopore, 55, Vijayhara, 51, Kupwara, 27. So, massacres means that mass killings by security forces are not uncommon. This is one mass killing by militants was shown in Kashmir, 24 Kashmir Pandits by terrorists, 2003, Unmarked in Jammu. So movie showed where Kashmiri Pandits were killed by terrorists. But that is one instance of this kind of killings. Security forces did also. But of course, there were terrorists killed. Okay. And next, you have many fake encounters. And rape was very common. Even this was discussed in a social science magazine called Anthropology Today in 1997, which is a peer-reviewed journal. So they discussed rape as a political weapon. Okay. And Medicine Sans Frontier says, sexual violence has been routinely perpetuated on Kashmiri women with 11.6 respondents saying they were victims of sexual abuse. So rape, very, very common. Rape is a way of hurting. Okay. And rapes and stress like this contributes to suicides. According to survey in 2012, 17,000, mostly women, committed suicide during the past 20 years. 17,000 suicides. During the same period, the death rate is 70,000 plus. So, it shows the level of violence in Kashmir. As if this kind of rapes and suicides are not enough, there is another concept that is called mass rape. Mass rape. Mass rape is a group of soldiers coming and raping women. Okay. One such event took place in the village of Konan and Poshpora on February 23rd, 1991. A large number of armed personnel entered into the houses of villagers at gunpoint. They gang raped 23 ladies without any consideration of their age, married or unmarried or even pregnant. They behaved like violent beasts, writes SM as in District Magistrate of Kupwara, as reported in New York Times. Don't think only New York Times reported. You can see this event in many newspapers. Okay. The army or the security personnel took away men for investigation purpose. They took away from the villages and then entered village and raped. But 23 is the minimum number. Local people say there are many more, at least around 100 molested in some way or the other. Why do they do like this? It is a collective punishment. Collective punishment. This was done when one terrorist event took place, and they do it that you are supporting terrorists or you are giving a sanctuary. These people may not actually be involved. These people may be innocents. But that is what collective punishment means. The actual person may not have anything to do. Like terrorists kill the innocents to make a point. Security people do this to make a point. And also done so violently. Says a pregnant woman gave birth to a child with fractured arm 4 days later. Okay, rape with violence. The government denied, but there is a lot of truth in this. Indian Express report in 2013 says the victims and their families socially ostracized by other villagers in the locality. If there was no truth, why would they be ostracized? In 2013. It was like the entire village was stamped with something impure. Okay. And next, very serious case of pellet injuries. Pellet guns are used to hit, and they hit a person like this. And many times, eyes are damaged. Eyes are damaged. This is a very rare case. The Guardian says, is it the world's first mass blinding? Because thousands are blinded. Even a non-political magazine, The Lancet, says, The Lancet, the British medical journal, published an editorial on physical and mental health of Kashmiris. It said 1,253 blinded by pellet guns between 2016 and 2018. The practice did not stop with 2018. This was blinding, but many more injured. In 2018, as per official figures, 395 suffered pellet injuries in their eyes from Outlook magazine. Unofficial figures could be much more. In fact, the same magazine says that there are advertisements in Kashmir that are you injured, then visit us for quick help. Okay. So why this? This often takes place like this. Crowds gather and some may pelt stones. They pelt stones. And so security personnel use some methods to disperse. And they say as a last resort, they use these guns indiscriminately. Because there is nothing like an accurate shooting. So millions of pellets are thrown or fired, and they hit at all kinds of places, including the eyes. Eyes are the most sensitive. Okay. Earlier, they were used on animals. So this is a very rare case, very rare case. And then torture is very frequent method, and it is at a highly significant scale. Parvez Emrose, this person, who brought out the case of unmarked mass graves, a human rights lawyer. In fact, he got in 2005 Ludovic Taravec's International Human Rights Prize, first given to Nelson Mandela. So he got that prize before he brought out this unmarked mass graves case. And an attempt on his life was made, and European Parliament discussed his case. And he gives the statistics of torture. He says in one cluster of 50 villages, more than 2,000 extreme cases of torture were documented. 50 villages, 2,000 extreme cases. One village, 40. 40 people tortured in a village. And then within these 50 villages, within the boundaries of 50 villages, 50 centers run by security forces in which torture had been practiced. This is about the statistics. So this man has a very detailed record of who, when, what. This is about the people who faced torture but alive. Those who were not alive were there in those graves. So he mentions a variety of methods of torture. Fingernails pulled, bones crushed, hung by ankles, chilly rubbed in wounds. I think these are possible in normal police stations also. But in Kashmir, something special. Petrol funneled into rectums. Forced to sodomize each other while a policeman filmed it. Rare. Lopping of the limbs, cut off. And feeding prisoners with their own flesh. In Kashmir Files, you see woman was forced to eat the rice soaked with her husband's blood. But here, one is asked to eat one's own flesh. And in one case, both feet sawn off. Okay. So cutting legs. Both feet sawn off. Feet. Okay. Sawn off. Of course, our body is cut off in the middle, as in Kashmir Files. Of course, if they are cut off, they won't be alive to report. So this is the level of violence in Kashmir. Okay. This is reported in Mass Graves of Kashmir by Guardian newspaper. Says these documents seen by Guardian also reveal horrific practices, including one sizable cluster confidentially probed by the government itself. where men from the border security forces loped off limbs, loped off limbs of suspects and fed prisoners with their own flesh. The Guardian traced one of the victims, a shepherd, 45 years, hobbling on crutches, bandage covering his ankles, both feet having been sawn off. He recalled, I was held down. A BSF trooper produced a knife, and then I passed out as the blood gushed from me. His file says a government investigator confirmed the story and produced eyewitnesses. Another villager, a carpenter, who lost both legs below the knee and one hand, added, the smell was death, urine and shit, sweat. You knew you were about to be slowly murdered. It was like being thrown down a well where no one can hear you scream. Electric shocks, stimulated drowning, stripping flesh with razor blades, piping petrol into anuses. These things are going on. So I want you to reflect on the totality of the picture. What else can we do?